Good evening and welcome to the December 5th meeting of the Lake Forest City Council. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Honorable James Cowie.
Here.
Alderman Novit.
Here.
Alderman Waldeck. Here. Alderman Moore.
Here.
Alderman Pan-Leon, absent. Alderman Morsch, absent. Alderman Schoenheider.
Here.
Alderman Palmer.
Here.
Alderman Edelman.
Here.
7 present, 2 absent. Mr. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Bertie. Will you please join me in a pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first order of business this evening is reports of city officers. I do have a couple of comments to make, and then I know we have a big group here tonight for a nice presentation, so we'll get to that pretty quickly. But first, I do want to thank everyone who came out for the tree lighting ceremony the day after Thanksgiving. As you looked around the community and downtown, especially Market Square, you noticed how beautiful the city of Lake Forest looked. And I want to thank especially the Boy Scout Troop 48. As a lot of you may or may not know, they are the ones who put all the wreaths up and the garland on all of our posts and street lights, and they do that as a volunteer. I had 2 boys that went through both Troop 48, and I spent probably 10 years doing that myself, so I know what fun it can be. But the real fun is that most people don't realize it's not so much putting it up. That's kind of the easy part when it's nice and warm. It's taking them down after the holidays when there's 2 feet of snow on the ground. So again, thank you very much, Troop 48. You do a great job, and the city always looks beautiful because of all the help you provide us. We have a big group here tonight, and this is kind of the end of our celebrations for our 150th all year. As you all know, we've been celebrating this entire year, kicked off actually a year ago with the tree lighting ceremony, and we've had a lot of fun this year. And I know our 2 former mayors who formed our committee, both Peschlack and Rummel, have brought everyone else here together tonight, a lot of the founding families and founders of the community. So we're going to get into that. I have a couple of resolutions that I'd like to read, and then we'll let you do your show. The first resolution is for the families themselves, and I'd like to read this into the record. Whereas during the year of 2011, the city of Lake Forest celebrated the 150th anniversary of its founding on February 21st, 1861, and whereas the city of Lake Forest was founded on the principles of excellence in education and faith, and whereas the city of Lake Forest honors its founding fathers and residents who created the community character of Lake Forest and have carried its traditions through a century and a half. And whereas based on these philosophies of excellence, the residents of Lake Forest will perpetuate these ideologies and pass them on to younger generations to ensure that Lake Forest will be a special place for years to come. And whereas this resolution is intended to complement the centennial families recognized by the Lake Forest Lake Bluff Historical Society by paying tribute to the families who have made significant contributions to Lake Forest over past 2 or more generations, and or who serve as role models for future generations of Lake Foresters. Therefore, be it resolved that the city of Lake Forest gratefully acknowledges the heritage families of Lake Forest listed below. And I'm going to read this long list. We have the Banks family, Chandler family, Clark family, Dick family, Dixon family, Farwell family, the Falk, Rafferty, Athenson family, you got a whole group there. The Foster Sterling family, the Gorder family, the Grumhouse family, Hunter family, Luby family, the McBride Green family, the Saran family, the H. Brooks Smith family, Stringer family, the Stewart Hart family, Swarthout family, and the Wad family. And I can probably guess there's probably a long list more here, but certainly these are significant families who have contributed to our community over many generations. I'll ask for a...
I move to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. Now I'd like to read the second resolution this evening as well. This is whereas during the year of 2011, the city of Lake Forest celebrated the 150th anniversary of its founding on February 21st, 1861. And whereas the city of Lake Forest, whose volunteer community and creative thinkers are the lifeblood of the community, working hard daily in support of the city's natural beauty, philosophies of excellence, our local institutions and cultural arts, they stepped forward to form the 150th Anniversary Committee. And whereas former mayors Michael Rummel and John Preschlack volunteered to lead the noble efforts of this committee, whereas this committee was charged with raising the funds necessary to run and to operate a year-long itinerary of events and activities to commemorate the 150th anniversary, and whereas the multitude of these events brought the community together on all topics of interest on behalf of and for the betterment of the City of Lake Forest, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Lake Forest gratefully acknowledges the accomplishments of the 150th Anniversary Committee and thanks them for their energy and spirit, which constituted the great success of this celebration. Again, thank you personally, both former mayors, Preschlack and Rummel, for all your hard work. I know you put a lot of time and effort into it, and it was certainly all done also with private contributions, which I know is a lot of work in itself to bring forth, but you did a fantastic job, so thank you both. And I know now you both have your own report to bring forth, so
I
Michael?
move to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Well, thank you very much. When I started this endeavor, we were talking about the 150th anniversary, and I thought about 150 years, and what does that mean to the history of our city? Well, first of all, I think that's how long we've been working on this event. It feels like 150 years, but you have to reflect back on what's happened. And not many communities can say that what's happened within their community has happened within ours. The Civil War, World War I, World War II, and a man landing on the moon. What does Lake Forest have to do with all of that? Well, first of all, the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln came to Lake Forest and was nominated by actually a Lake County resident to become President of the United States. He also came here to recruit some of his officers. In World War I and II, we had numerous veterans fighting from Lake Forest, and we have a national hero living right here within our midst who almost landed on the moon and didn't quite make it there, but had an amazing trip to it. So our small community, 23,000 people today, has played a major part in the history of the United States. And when you reflect on that, this was a lot to try to put into one event. So we have a committee, and to them I wish to say thank you. Jack will speak about the family histories in a minute. My job is to talk about the 150th and about the people who made that happen. First of all, the City Council and the Mayor. Thank you for your support. Thank you for helping us along the way. Thank you for your contribution towards this. But you were the guiding light to us as to where to go. When we planned to blow up the city early on, you told us that wasn't a good idea. But we did come up with a number of different ideas. And thank you for your guidance, help, and your support. To the donors who gave to the campaign, as Jim has mentioned, this was all done by private donations. Tommy Hunter started us off and got us rolling, and we raised enough money to not only do this, but to plant the trees, and hopefully we're going to have a little bit left at the end. So when the train station is finally finished, we're going to plant the trees back at the train station so everybody will have something to see from this 150th. The committee came up with the 150th numbers, which everybody has seen all year. I think we have them sold to another town for their 50th, and then the one goes to Jim's house. And so the list of events go on, the timeline that was created by the Historical Society, the tree planting that's going on through town, there's 151 commemorative trees, the sunrise service, and then finally the concert that we had and the all-city party that we had over Labor Day weekend. There were a number of groups that participated in this. I know Open Lands, the Symphony, the City Sticker, and one of the things we had was an overture made to Lake Forest, so it's my honor to present this to you, Jim.
That's right. Do I have to sing it, or am I? I don't think you want to hear that. Okay, good. Thank you. That's fantastic.
But the Lake Forest Symphony had a 150th overture written to it, and it was played in March at the Symphony. So all the constituent groups that were involved with the city got into this and really made it a great event. But the last group I wish to thank is the staff and that is everybody who worked on this event. The staff worked tirelessly to help make this event happen. If you could have been out there the day before when we were setting up the all-city party, our staff people were out there just working like dogs to get everything set up right for us. So to the staff, we can't say enough to thank you for it. And then finally, my special thanks goes to Debbie, who could not be here tonight. Debbie Saran was the engine that made this thing happen. She got the all-city party together. So all I really have to say to the countless volunteers, the committee, the donors, is humbly I have to say thank you for making this an event, a great event. Thank you. And I don't know how we're going to do this, but we have a small video that we're going to show you quickly about the 150th event. Do we know how to make this happen? Okay. Sure. And after this, Jack will get up and talk about the Centennial families.
Mayor Preschlack and myself, we'd like to welcome you to the 150th birthday party of Lake Forest. It's really been a lot of fun, starting with the tree lighting ceremony back last year, through everything in tonight. And wasn't Ronnie Baker a great act? We're going to have Dave Mason, and then we're going to have a laser light show for you at the end of this, and it looks like we're finally clearing up a little bit.
Before we get on with Dave Mason, I just want to say a few more thanks, reiterate a little bit of what Mike Rummel just had to say. I do want to thank Debbie Saran again and the Heritage Festival Committee. They worked for 1 year on this. There were hundreds of individuals that spent a lot of time on all these programs during the year. They did a fantastic job. Thanks again, Debbie, and everyone who contributed.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, city staff, fellow Lake Foresters. Mr. Mayor, I've spent many happy hours in this room, but never saw a turnout like this, even under the most controversial subjects before the council. And I'd like to thank everyone for showing here tonight. And there's so many great friends in the room, and it's a privilege for me to be here with you. It was a privilege to serve on the committee with Michael Rummel and to make this a truly memorable community-wide celebration of our 150th. And we were supported superbly by the city staff, most notably Susan Banks. We were supported by Janice Hawk and the Historic Society, and also by many donors who made this a privately funded event and minimized any cost to the taxpayers. But I'm here tonight really to talk about the resolution that you passed earlier, and I'd like to talk specifically as to how it came about and why it is so significant. The inspiration for this resolution stems from the sermon of the Reverend Thomas Dickelman, who is chaplain to Lake Forest College, when he delivered his sermon at the sunrise service on the beach at Lake Forest Day in August. In that sermon, Reverend Dickelman said, and I quote, "If we only focus on the past without an eye toward the future, this will be a hollow celebration. For what comes with the privilege of calling this special place home is the responsibility of ensuring it will be here for generations to come." And then he said, The preservation of Lake Forest as it is not enough. We need to preserve the spirit that made Lake Forest what it is. End of quote. Aside from its physical beauty, we all know that what makes Lake Forest special is its tradition of volunteerism and citizen support, as represented by you gentlemen and ladies at the podium. And not only at city governance level, but the people that brought you here, the city caucus system, which is based on volunteerism, and outstanding community organizations such as the Historic Society, Lake Forest Open Lands, the American Legion Post, our unsung heroes, Lake Forest Preservation Foundation, Croyer, Gorton Center, Ellowa, to name but a few. Now, to inspire future generations, I see no better way of describing the spirit of what made Lake Forest what it is than to honor those families present here tonight and incorporated in your resolution who have given so much to this community and who represent role models for the future. I wish I could comment on each one of them, but time won't permit. And besides, most of you know who they are and are familiar with them. Not as evident, perhaps, are the role models that we included in the list to be honored. First and foremost among them, and a surprise to her, is Susan Banks, who was a volunteer at Gorton Center and who's really been glue to hold so many of these activities together. In addition to Susan, some of the younger people honored in that resolution, such as Eileen Luby, Debbie Saran, and David Grumhouse. It's no exaggeration to say that the contributions of these families and individuals have made Lake Forest what it is today. Mr. Mayor, I am confident that with the resolution you and the council pass tonight, you will keep the spirit that made this community what it is alive for many years to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jack. And Jack, since I won't be here for the next 150th, I do want to give you these two resolutions, though, before you.
We have to go across the border again. I didn't know that's across there.
Mount Rushmore.
Mr. Mayor, may I also, for the benefit of everybody that's here this evening, make the announcement that they are all invited to go over to Southgate Restaurant, where there are some refreshments that they can carry on the celebration, even though the city council members have to stay here and do a little more work.
I was told further that there was, Jack and Mike were having dinner for everyone here.
Oh.
The city was invited. And please show up at Southgate.
Two fewer trees.
Again, thank you, former mayors Prushlock and Rummel, for all your hard work over the year. It was a fantastic year, a wonderful celebration, and thank you to all the families that have made Lake Forest so special. And I know that you know, we're seeing just a handful of them here tonight that have made such a great impact on the community. And I know that over the next 150 years, there'll be many, many more that will follow in your footsteps and continue to make this community obviously one of the best in the United States. And we thank you for all you've done for us and you continue to do for us.
Thank you. So everybody is dismissed to go have cake and coffee at Southgate.
Finish it up, I guess. Right there.
It's amazing. I see Robert Stewart walking around the neighborhood by the farm all the time. I think he's 90.
I wanted to.
Oh, yeah.
It's incredible.
Don and I were a little disappointed that there weren't any pictures of the two of us hanging off the end of the fire engine.
With the crazy man.
I got more complaints from people. Who wants to read it? We're gonna try to resume our meeting now. Our next order of business this evening is a resolution of appreciation for Julie Carpenter for 24 years of service. And I understand that Kathy Cerniak is going to read the resolution, so Kathy, you want to come on up?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. It's hard to top that last item.
But you can head
last
to
week,
Southgate now, too.
Pardon me?
But you can run over to Southgate afterwards, too.
Last week, Julie Carpenter retired after 26 years with the city. And since the day I walked into the city, in fact, even at my interview, Julie has been there with me. The support that she has offered me personally and professionally is something that I won't ever forget. Julie is like so many people in the city, those people whose faces you don't often see. They're not at board and commission meetings. They're not on TV 15 nights a month. But Julie, like so many others in the city, it's the work that they do, the knowledge that they have, the customer service that they offer, and the expertise and professionalism that they bring to their job that really make the city what it is. So it's people like Julie that really deserve the credit. With that, I would like to present a resolution to you tonight and ask for your recognition of Julie. Whereas Julie M. Carpenter has been a dedicated employee of the City of Lake Forest for 24 years since joining the city on September 28, 1987. And whereas Julie began her career with the City of Lake Forest as an administrative assistant in the city manager's office at City Hall and joined the Community Development Department in July 1996, bringing her energy and enthusiasm to the Municipal Services Facility. And whereas Julie, during her time in the Community Development Department, provided ongoing support to 5 boards and commissions and numerous special committees and task force. And whereas Julie did whatever needed to be done to support the department, the city organization, and those around her. And whereas Julie had an amazing ability to recall details of various meetings, various projects, remember names, faces, and addresses, find missing files, and most amazing, she could read minds, and as a result, was often more than one step ahead of everyone else. Whereas Julie brought a unique style and sense of humor to the office, remembered birthdays, and found a way to make those around her feel special. Whereas Julie will be missed not only by her coworkers, but also by the many board members, commissioners, and residents who relied on her as their go-to person. And whereas Julie honorably retired from the city on November 30th, 2011, now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Lake Forest that the council, on behalf of the administration and residents of the community, hereby expresses its appreciation and gratitude to Julie M. Carpenter for a public service faithfully performed. And be it further resolved that the city clerk be and hereby is instructed to deliver a copy of this resolution duly signed by the mayor to Julie M. Carpenter this 5th day of December 2011. I would ask for your approval of that
I
resolution.
move the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations, Joe.
That's for the mayor's Facebook page.
Thanks, Julie.
Congratulations, Julie. You're going to be missed by many, especially at Municipal Services. I know that. Your smiling face every day and your great sense of humor. Thanks for all your service. We have another resolution this evening as well. This is for Elizabeth Miller, who served on the Plan Commission from May 2010 to September 2011. And I will just read the resolution and ask for approval as well. Whereas she has devoted much valuable time and personal attention to the work of this commission, and on behalf of the citizens of Lake Forest, continually met her responsibilities with purpose and dedication, and whereas the citizens of Lake Forest recognize and are deeply appreciative of the valuable time and service she contributed to the preservation and improvement of the quality of life in our community by serving on this commission, now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Lake Forest, Illinois hereby expresses the profound gratitude of the citizens of Lake Forest to Elizabeth Miller for the loyal and faithful public service she has given by means of this resolution, which shall be spread upon the permanent records of the City Council, adopted by the City Council on this day of the 5th of December, 2011.
I move to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations, Elizabeth, and I'll give this back for Bertie. Let's conclude my remarks under comments by mayor. Our next item on the agenda this evening is comments by city manager. Bob?
Actually, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to throw it back to you, and before Vic makes his presentation. You have a
You wanna do
statement
that?
you're going to read?
Okay, we'll do that now as well then. I'd like to read a statement this evening into the record, and then we'll have the city attorney follow up. Tonight, following a special executive session of the City Council of Lake Forest, I am recommending that the City Council appoint Lee Jeter to conduct an independent review of a recently released report regarding an inappropriate conversation allegedly held in 2008 involving the Lake Forest Police Department Student Resource Officer, or SRO, and an intern. On January 3rd, 2009, the intern filed a complaint against former Deer Path Middle School Principal John Steinert with the Gurnee Police Department for telephone harassment. In the course of the Gurnee investigation, the former intern referenced that the SRO on one occasion made some improper comments to her, thereby making her uncomfortable. As part of Gurnee's investigation of Mr. Steinert, the Lake County State's Attorney reviewed the complaint and concluded there were no wrongdoings performed by the SRO. At no time have any complaints or charges been filed against the SRO in this matter, nor did the intern file anything with the Lake Forest Police Department regarding the SRO. On November 16, 2011, the Lake Forest Police Department received a full copy of the Gurnee Police Department's report regarding Mr. Steinert. Because the report revealed questionable conduct by the SRO, the City Council announced on November 21st, 2011, that a further investigation was warranted for review by the city's Board of Fire and Police Commissioners, or the BFPC. After conferring with the chair of the BFPC, I have directed that the review be conducted from outside the police department to ensure its independence. Lee Jeter is of counsel with the law firm of Clark Bard Smith, LLP, which specializes in labor and employment law. Ms. Jeter has substantial experience in the areas of harassment and workplace misconduct and has served both public and private clients in establishing the best practices to avoid such misconduct. Ms. Jeter previously served as Special Assistant to the Provost and Director of the Sexual Harassment Prevention Office at Northwestern University. She is expected to present the findings of her study to the City Council in January 2012, which will form the basis for any charges that may be brought before the BFPC. Further, Ms. Jeter is not a resident of Lake Forest or Lake Bluff, and the BFPC is an independent board comprised of Lake Forest residents that is established pursuant to the Illinois Municipal Code. The BFPC is statutorily charged with considering disciplinary matters involving police officers and firefighters of the city. Because the BFPC acts as a quasi-judicial tribunal, using independent counsel to review the SRO's conduct will ensure that the report will be thorough while protecting the due process rights of those involved. And let me reiterate that the City of Lake Forest and the Police Department take any suggestion of employee misconduct very seriously. The city has established extremely high standards for its employees that place heavy emphasis on the core values of integrity, respect, trust, and excellence. And I would ask for approval
So moved.
to hire this independent investigator from the council.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? And I'd also ask now for the city attorney, Vic Filippini, to, again, give a little more clarity and in-depth on the process.
Mr. Mayor, you actually covered it quite well, and rather than go through all of the notes that I had, I will try just to highlight a couple of things. First, as you announced at the November 21st meeting, the investigation was to start, and this is, I think, an important next step in that process. Because of the nature of the statutory structure for review and discipline of police officers, as well as the nature of the activity alleged, having an independent investigator, as Ms. Jeter, would be an appropriate step and will, in fact, allow the process to move forward to its next and then ultimate logical conclusion. What that conclusion will be, I think, is still an unknown, and I think that's what the investigation is intended to identify. As we, or as you had said, and I guess I would have said the same thing, only perhaps a little less articulately and a lot longer. The Board of Fire and Police Commission is a statutorily created body. It's a three-member body to hear both hiring, promotional, and disciplinary matters for the police department. And in this instance, the discipline is something that will come if it's determined that charges are appropriate. As I understand the process, the independent investigator will come up with a report. It will be presented to the City Council, and the Council will then make a determination whether charges should be filed against the SRO or anyone else. The Board of Fire and Police Commission then will hold what is really a trial in all practical purposes, extending due process rights to all parties involved. Any determination of the Board of Fire and Police Commission will be appealable to the courts, and that will be the end of the process as far as the city is concerned. So I think that the kickoff from your announcement on November 21st, followed by tonight's retaining of an independent counsel to consider this, will next really be followed by the delivery of the report to the council and then any determination of any formal action with respect to the SRO or anyone else. And I think that to avoid prejudging matters, the council really doesn't have any further action to do until we do get the report of the independent counsel. If there's any further questions, I'll be happy to identify them or address them, but I think you identified all the issues very thoroughly in your presentation.
Okay. Thank you, Vic. Bob, you want to back into your report now?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The next item under my report is a subject that certainly has been before the community and this council for a few months. You'll remember that at your last meeting, we put in place a Citizens Advisory Committee, and I think tonight's action really puts the final piece into the team that's going to bring Deer Path Golf back to a position of being financially sustainable. Mary Van Arsdale is going to walk the City Council through the proposed contract with Kemper Sports Management that was approved by the Park and Rec Board at their last meeting. Mary?
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and members of City Council. As Bob mentioned, I'm here tonight to request City Council approval of a contract with Kemper Sports Management Incorporated for providing consulting services and an operation manager for Deer Path Golf Course. We've really been in discussion of the future of Deer Path Golf Course for over a year. We started almost a year ago, October, with some proactive information, sharing with the community some of the financial challenges on the horizon. Knowing that, we then began to move forward with trying to look at what would be some options for us. And then given the information that Chris Marzellik, who was the golf pro, was retiring, there was a lot of timing opportunities that led to the work that's occurred for the last 6 months. This is just a very quick timeline over the last 6 months, which was work that was involving the Ad Hoc Golf Committee, which was made up of 2 aldermen, 2 park board members, and some of the city staff to really bring us to the point tonight to have a contract to share with council. As you can see here, we did an RFQ, which is request for qualifications, to just identify quality companies that might be interested in pursuing this topic with us, and then that led us to an RFP, a request for a proposal, where we gathered information specific to Deer Path Golf Course, and eventually we took the contract that you're seeing tonight before the park board at a special park board meeting on November 29th, and they unanimously approved the contract that you have in front of you tonight. I'd like to thank the Ad Hoc Golf Committee because, as I mentioned, the last 6 months they've spent a great deal of time on this project, and in particular, you know, I want to thank Kathy Waldeck, who is one of the aldermen here, as well as Tom Morse, who was very involved in this process as well. The next slide I have up here is really just the key elements. The contract, as you know, is in your document, is you know, 40-some page document with the glossary, etc. But this just highlights the key elements of the contract details. It is a 1-year agreement beginning, hopefully, if we approve tonight, tomorrow, December 6th of 2011. It does include an option to renew for a 2nd and 3rd term. And then Kemper Sports Management will provide the operations manager. This is the only staffing position that we have asked Kemper to assist with. All other employees at the golf course are remaining employees of the city. The 4th bullet point was the city's fiscal year 13 commitment then would be a fixed management fee of $115,000. This included a $25,000 base fee and a not to exceed $90,000 amount for the operations manager's salary and wage and taxes. And that's a reimbursement to Kemper Sports Management for providing that personnel position. And then the city would pay Kemper Sports Management an annual incentive management fee of 10% of gross revenues in excess of our adjusted base revenue. And just to clarify with that, the intent here was to really work closely with Kemper to drive new revenue for the golf course. But we are only sharing this incentive management in the areas that Kemper is assisting us with for their services. It does not include any of the revenues that we take in for the driving range, because they are not directly managing that. It does not include lessons, and it also does not include our food and beverage or donations and interest that we might receive you know, through donations and things like that. So it's specific to the areas that Kemper is assisting us with, which is the pro shop, golf cart fees and green fees and daily fees, etc. So those are the key elements of the contract. A lot of the questions that I have received, and I'm sure the council has too, is really how this organizational structure looks and who will play what kind of roles between all the boards and advisory groups that we have, as well as the city staff. So this is an chart that shows you the organizational chart going forward. I'll just highlight a couple things on it for you. As you can see at the top, City Council would continue to be at the top with the Parks and Recreation Board, who is advisory to City Council, providing the direction for the golf course. The city manager, myself, and Jeff Waite, who is the Superintendent of Special Facilities, would provide the key administrative support from the city. The new Golf Advisory Committee, which City Manager announced at the last meeting in November, they too would be simply advisory to staff, assist us with, a lot of the work as far as developing a business plan, a marketing plan, some events and activities for our members, as well as to track new daily fees. And they would then be reporting to staff here for over this next year. Jeff Wade, our Superintendent of Special Facilities, would then oversee what we consider the 4 branches of business services offered at the golf course. The one on the furthest left is our golf maintenance area, which is Tom Wilson, Gil Barajas, and our crew for the golf course. It does all maintenance services. The second category is the new operations manager, which I'll come back to in just a second. The marketing for the course, because we do have marketing needs, including the city's website, the special website for the golf course, and then as well as doing things through our own seasonal brochures. But Kemper will assist us in that role as well. And then the far right column is our instructional academy, which we are doing with Circle Systems Golf and continuing with him. But under the operations manager, this is our independent contractor that will be provided by Kemper. This individual would help us oversee the pro shop staff, the starters and rangers, the sandwich grill operations, and the driving range operations. And then just facilitating, though there's no staff associated with it, these last 3 categories on the chart, which I know is a little hard to read up there, but it really is our leagues, our outings and events, and some of our membership services that we do offer. So this would kind of give you then that oversight. So really Jeff would be the key individual managing and making sure all these areas of business services are integrated. And you can see we have this line connecting this also lower tier, because the golf course still has to be an integrated operation out there. If we're running an event or an outing, we need to have the food services talking with our operations manager and the maintenance so that everything is coordinated. So that's the organizational chart. Before I go to the recommended action, let me just back up for just a quick second. There was a question about one of the sections in the contract, which was the, let me just get to that, Article 8, which was a change regarding our damage and condemnation. Vic Filippini, our city attorney, had been working with Kemper to address that language. Today, both parties did agree to that language, and we would be requesting that we would make some modifications in that portion of the contract yet. Before I go to the recommended action, is there questions that I can now ask or field for council? Yes, David?
One regarding the total financial commitment if budgets are met, including the salary and the 10%. What would that dollar amount be?
For the incentive fee component or for
yeah, if goals are met, what would the,
well, we had
115 with Kemper.
Correct.
The 10% was, what would that end up being?
Well, what we need to do is set the adjusted base revenue based on this past year's golf services, which we will know by the first of the year. So we will take that, minus out anything that are the areas of revenue that we took in this year that will not be included as part of them. That will set the base. And then we will proceed next year with running our operations, and then we'll compare that apple to apples. And within 60 days after the conclusion of this next year's golf season, that's how we'll calculate what the 10% they'll receive then.
So 2011 will be the base.
Correct.
For 2012.
That is correct.
And then what's the potential revenue?
You know, I haven't actually figured up that number. I know that it's probably in the 10 to 20,000 potential, but it really will depend on what we can do with growing rounds and memberships this year. So.
Thank you.
Mary,
Councilman Lieberman?
2010, what were our gross revenues that would be applicable to the incentive fee in 2010?
Well, we did a brief look at that, but we hadn't backed out everything, and I don't have that number exactly to tell you, but I think it's probably going to be closer around the 600,000 range.
The gross?
Of the categories just specific to Deer Path, or to the Kemper's areas.
Fee. Yeah. Okay, so my next question is, how quickly do we get financial information in on the golf course? Come October 31st, do we know how many rounds we sold as of October 31st, or what's the
Correct.
lag time on getting the financial information?
Well, we can get financial information daily. Of course,
do.
it's unaudited. Our
Uh-huh.
goal is we can actually run our Crescent Golf System revenues out at the golf course, daily or at the end of every month, and have that number, and then that gets reported into the finance department. So every month we know exactly where we are. We can even run it weekly if we'd like to.
Great, great. The retail sales in the pro shop, that's included in the gross revenues that fall in this incentive fee?
That is correct.
And do we share in any revenue from those gross sales in the pro shop?
Currently?
Yes. Or let's say prospectively?
Well, currently what we do is it's a consignment arrangement with our vendors, so we take on merchandise and we are only responsible for, keeping a portion of it. We can return the merchandise if not sold. That is something we need to discuss going forward, and that would be some feedback we'd like from Kemper for part of our consulting services or with the new operations manager. But of that sales, the intent is that depending on what we would sell our merchandise and our profit level would be 10% of our profit could potentially go to Kemper to assist with that.
Okay, but do we share in any of the revenues from the sales of golf balls, clubs, hats, bags?
We would be
from the pro
receiving,
shop?
we'd receiving 90% of the profit, Kemper would get 10.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That's what's not clear.
Okay.
Because conceivably, they could have a ton of sales out of the pro shop and earn the 10% incentive fee, but I know some pro shops, and maybe this is more prevalent at private golf courses, the pro runs all the retail sales out of the pro shop. He buys the merchandise, he sells it. and-
Yes.
But that's not the case here.
Yeah, that's not a compensation component of the operation manager. It is strictly business function of the city. We own the merchandise, or we have it on consignment, and we manage that.
Okay.
Okay.
And I'm wrapping up. I think there's some incorrect dates in here under Article 2 about the renewal. It says a term shall automatically renew until April 30th of 2013. So that's only like a 6-month renewal.
Yes, that does look odd. The intent when we looked at the terms, and why we called them terms instead of years, is that this, in order to better align going forward and for more of the long haul, was to get onto a term or a contract situation that would mirror our fiscal year.
Yeah.
So the thought was we would have this 1-year first initial term, and then we would do a 6-month term just to catch us up, if you will, and get us onto that fiscal year cycle with an 18-month, I guess it's 19-month third term, so that we would then, over the course of 3 golf seasons, cover the 3 terms, but the terms themselves are not necessarily equal.
Okay, but it looks like the third term is actually for 24 months because it runs from April 30th of 13 to April 30th of 15. So that would be 24 months. Okay, so that's what was intended. All right, then I guess the only issue I have with that is that you've got to give notice as early as September 6th. There's still a lot of golf rounds left in September and October. And wouldn't we want to know how we fared over the majority of the good weather before we make a decision to give notice to renew or not?
Well,
Shouldn't our renewal date be like closer to December 6th or maybe even December 31st if we're going to kick to an April 30th end of term?
Well, we run into a couple challenges. We do receive the bulk of our revenues really in mid-September, and we can, as I mentioned, we can run our reports almost daily. So we'll have a good sense of whether or not this relationship is working well or not. The intent here is to give enough notice so that if we needed to go out and then seek a replacement of an operation manager, or they would need to go do something for their individual, that everybody has the proper window for golf industry. And so that we could also then position ourselves to know that we're going to do something different to make our membership aware of it before we would need to begin to sell our memberships for the next golf season and or put our fees and charges in place per the current existing calendar, the city council follows for capital as well as for our budgets. So that's the window, but, you know.
So you like the September 6th?
Yeah, talking with Kemper and with the city staff, we felt that we would have a good sense of how this is working early on and would have a real good feel that we've covered the majority of the bulk of the golf season, even from a revenue perspective, to kind of know what we're doing.
Okay.
Kathy?
Yeah, Mary, I don't have a question, but just more a few general comments. As Mary noted, I was a member of the ad hoc, I guess it is, golf committee, and we did spend quite a bit of time during the summer on this whole process. And I think that there are always perhaps a few who have their suspicions about the process, who might have even suggested that we had somehow made a pre-selection of Kemper. This is even some sort of backdoor towards privatization. And I just want to say, as a member of that committee, that that was absolutely not the case. That we interviewed 4 companies, we sent the RFP submittals to all 4, and 2 were actually interested. And they were neck and neck in our mind. We went through very lengthy interviews and went into it with a complete open mind. And I think everybody in that room, the moment those interviews were over, we were absolutely unanimous and without hesitation that Kemper was the right choice for us. These guys just got it. And there was absolutely no doubt on our part that this was the right thing to do and the right company for us. So just a comment on that process and how happy I am with its conclusion.
Mary, I did have one question.
Sure.
Under 3.5.3, talk about marketing. It says KSM shall make recommendations to the city as to green fees, other fees and rates, I would assume, including membership fees. Who makes the final decision on membership fees and green fees?
That is city staff with city council's approval. So
Okay.
we bring the fees to council as we did last month, and that would always continue in going forward this next year.
Great, that's the right answer. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
I'd also like to comment that the beauty of something like this, and it's not at all privatization, is that we're paying a fee. It's fee management to a third-party entity, and we're totally precluding all the inherent liabilities of having another employee, which goes to pension fund, unemployment compensation, workers' comp, all that stuff. So it's a great mechanism to control our expenses.
Great.
Where does the renewal come back to? City Council, Parks and Rec, Jeff? Who makes the re-up decision next September 6th?
We would make a recommendation first to the park board, who would then advise to council that recommendation, and council would approve that.
Because of the expenditure?
Yes, it's an expenditure in the contract.
Any other questions for Mary?
Mr. Mayor, just for clarification, we'd ask that the motion actually be that we approve the contract in substantially the form attached herein, because with the language changes that Mary mentioned too regarding Article 8, and then some of the questions that just came up on the term, we want to clarify those. So what you're seeing is about 99% accurate, but the attorney wants to make a few updates and changes, which we've already touched base with Kemper Sports on, and they're in agreement. But it could be slightly different than the form that's in your packet.
Bob, I'm sorry, question. Under the recommendation, it's asking council to approve, not inclusive of the incentive management fee. Why is that?
Because we don't have the exact dollar amount, we will bring the dollar amount back with the financial backup at the point we need to pay that dollar amount out. So council will approve that as an expenditure of the city.
Right. We have to set the baseline first, and then we'll know.
Yeah, it seems like, though, it seems like this should be, the intent is to make that a part of the process, though.
Absolutely.
We could approve, obviously, that intent,
Yeah.
that format, but not the dollar part of it.
That's
Okay.
perfect.
Right. Any other questions for Mary? Or if not, I'd entertain a motion for approval of a one-year contract with Kemper Sports Management.
So moved.
A second.
Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
Alderman Waldeck.
Aye.
Alderman Moore.
Aye.
Alderman Schoenhyder.
Aye.
Alderman Palmer.
Aye.
Alderman Edelman.
Aye.
6 yeas, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you, Bertie.
Thank you very
Mary.
much.
I have just two other quick items, Mr. Mayor. First, I think we sent out in the news, the monthly update that those of you that do utilize the East Side train station, there is now free wireless service there. If you're waiting for a train, you got your iPad or your computer, you can sign in as LF guests. And we hopefully will eventually extend this to the west side. Right now, it's very expensive to put it in on the west side, but we're still exploring that. We'd like to be able to offer that soon as well. But so for all of you that are sitting waiting for trains on the East Side Station, you now are able to tap into your emails and other things through your through the Wi-Fi. And then the second item is that I also forwarded sent out a request to City Council for names of people who might be qualified and interested to serve on a wireless communication task force. The mayor has, I think, volunteered Alderman Moore to be the council's liaison. I was trying to find the right word. Arm twisting, volunteer.
I thought he graciously agreed.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's right. I have gotten one or two names from the aldermen, but I would also, again, if anybody has any thoughts or if anybody watching at home or in the audience this evening has some names, please forward them on to my office for consideration, because we would like to get that committee going as well. So that completes my report for this evening.
I have just one quick comment. I did get an email this weekend suggesting, would the city be interested in the future in putting Wi-Fi at the beach, which I think would be a great idea at some future point. So just a thought.
No, and that's a very good thought, and I have to rely upon the staff, because I think it's another one of those that we looked into it and it was going to be very expensive, but with the fiber now at the water plant, we might be able to provide that. So staff will look into it and get back to you on that.
Thanks.
Thank you, Bob. Our next item on the agenda this evening is council committee reports. Our first being a finance committee report presented by Finance Director Kathy Reinertsen. And that is a consideration of an ordinance establishing the tax levy for 2011. Kathy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. This is the second and final reading of the tax levy. We previously discussed this at our November 21st meeting. The important aspect of this levy is that it is decreasing by 1.74%. It is in full compliance with the property tax cap, which is allows a 1.5% increase of the CPI along with new growth. We've estimated that the average decrease to existing residents would be approximately 2.19% or $58 on a $757,000 home. So we are seeking your final approval of this ordinance tonight.
Kathy, just making sure you said the tax levy was decreasing?
Decreasing, correct.
Okay, just making sure.
Okay.
Yeah, we're very proud of that fact. We're going down, not up, where most communities and most governments are asking for more money, we're asking for less. So that's a good thing.
If there's no questions, I definitely want to be the one to move for our grant and final approval for this motion, or move to grant final approval.
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
Alderman Waldeck.
Aye.
Alderman Moore.
Aye.
Alderman Schoenhyder.
Aye.
Alderman Palmer.
Aye.
Alderman Edelman.
Aye.
6 yeas, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you, Bertie, and Kathy's going to stay up here for a while because our next item is abating the 2011 tax levies for various GO alternate revenue bond issues.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, this is the final approval. We had the first reading at the November 21st meeting. These are our annual abatements of revenue bonds. We need to abate these bonds, otherwise they would appear on the tax levy. These bonds have other revenue sources to pay the debt service, such as water, the water fund, golf course, storm sewer, 0.5% sales tax, and the IRS rebates on some of our Build America bonds and Recovery Zone economic development bonds. So we are asking for your approval of the final ordinance for the bond abatements tonight.
Any questions for Kathy?
I'll move to, oh, go ahead.
You may, I don't want it all the fun.
I'll move to grant final approval of the ordinances abating the tax levies for the various general obligation bond issues.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
Alderman Waldeck.
Aye.
Alderman Moore.
Aye.
Alderman Schoenhyder.
Aye.
Alderman Palmer.
Aye.
Alderman Edelman.
Aye.
6 yeas, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you, Bertie. And our next item, again, Kathy's going to stay there, is for consideration of an ordinance approving a fee schedule.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is our annual review of all fees. Contained within the increases tonight are just two areas. One is the Deer Path Golf Course Fund fee increases, and the other is the Parks and Recreation Fund fee increases, which comprise the boating and fitness fees. This is second reading, and we're asking for your approval of these fee increases.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
Alderman Waldeck.
Aye.
Alderman Moore.
Aye.
Alderman Schoenhyder.
Aye.
Alderman Palmer.
Aye.
Alderman Edelman.
Aye.
6 yeas, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you, Bertie. Our next item is a consideration of an ordinance related to annual fees for the Parks and Recreation Fund and the Senior Resource Fund. Again, Kathy, you're...
This is the last one. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a fee that was prepared by this, an ordinance that was prepared by the city attorney allowing the Park and Recreation boards and the Senior Resources Board to approve certain fees. The city council, however, would be approving all annual fees within those funds. We're seeking final approval.
Kathy, just for clarification, for senior resource, there's absolutely no increase in fees.
Correct. No increase in their annual fees.
Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
Alderman Waldeck.
Aye.
Alderman Moore.
Aye.
Alderman Schoenhyder.
Aye.
Alderman Palmer.
Aye.
Alderman Edelman.
Aye.
6 yeas, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you, Bertie, and thanks, Kathy.
Thank you.
You're all done. Our next item on the agenda is comments by council members. Any? No, hearing none. We'll move on to opportunity for public to address the city council on non-agenda items. Anyone from the public? Yes, sir.
First, I used to be in the golf business, and I'll tell you a little bit of how it's run. This is not a public course, but the private courses. The pro runs the golf shop. That's his. He pays for everything that's in there. It's his business. The club has nothing to do with it except make sure he does a good job. The rest of the course, the greenskeeper takes care of all of that, and he answers to the golf committee. So I don't know what's happening out here, but I'll tell you this, that I get a lot of report from people. You know, I got a hot dog place, and people come into that back room and they talk, and we listen. You've been in, you know what I'm talking about. One of the items that comes up all the time is the kids are playing when the older people want to go out to play. And that's what's keeping a lot of the play from coming to this course. But I don't want to get into it. It's not my business. I'm just telling you how it's run at private clubs. You know, there's a certain time for the members to be able to go out on that golf course with their guests and everything without having a lot of kids around. The kids can play. No, I'm not saying don't keep them, but they have to play at certain hours in between the members that come out with to spend the dollars. Well, anyhow, that's what I'm not here for. Bobby, I listened to you. The reason I came tonight, the safety program you started, right? This afternoon you talked about, or at the Finance Committee meeting, you talked about safety in Lake Forest and stuff like that. Well, I'm back at the same old stuff, the college parking on Washington Road. Okay? Now, there's nothing has changed. I've been, how many times have you heard me up here? Nothing has changed, absolutely. As a matter of fact, it's getting worse. There's more cars over there now. These kids are parking there all day long. They have no vehicle tag. Most of the cars are from out of state, They're not driving junk cars. These are expensive cars over there. There's Mercedes, there's everything. The reason they're there, they don't want to pay for the parking at the college. They don't want to get a permit over there. Well, if they can afford to go to Lake Forest College, they should be afford that permit. I have to pay for a permit. I have to pay for my state license. I have to pay for a vehicle tag. I don't understand what's going on. And there's no safety over there. Now, Bobby, you went to the college. When you went there, they couldn't park out there. You know that too. But nothing gets done. Now, I'm not here to harp at everybody, but there's nothing getting done about what I see as being a very, very dangerous place. There's going to be an accident there one of these days, and it'll be serious. You guys are going to have to answer for that. This is a simple thing. All they got to do is put up signs, no parking. I talked to Bob Stewart just now, Sandy, and he said to me, he says he's been talking about it also. Nothing gets done. And they say that the people don't want the signs up, the neighbors. He's right there. So, you know, he's one of the guys who was sitting in here tonight. So, I don't know. Give us a break. It's been a long time. I don't want to come up here and do this. I've gone to everybody in town. I've gone to the police department, the city hall, the alderman, my alderman in one, and I'm going nowhere. Should I stop doing it? Now I'm going to ask a question. Should I quit harping?
Mr. Pasquesi, directly, just so we could advise, or know, on Washington, specifically what area are we talking about? Would it be on the bend?
You can't miss it. Drive up, Kathy, you know where I'm talking about. You drive up Washington Road every day. Am I wrong? You see the cars parked there. You have to go across the yellow line, the double yellow line, to get around those cars. It's a two-lane road. It's busy. We've only have two roads in Lake Forest that go south. One is Washington Road, the other is Illinois Road. I don't know. Safety is not being advised over there, I know that.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, let me respond because I'm going to say it was a year ago following request from Mr. Pasquesi, we did put no parking on a portion of Washington where I think there's the dip in the road. After you came forward and after our police department, our engineering department took a look at it, but also working with the neighbors in the area. We're happy through our traffic safety coordinating committee to contact the neighbors in that area. But I think while I respect your position and your opinions, we also have to take in the feelings of the people who live along that stretch. And last time, and actually we've asked them twice if they'd be willing to put up no parking signs, and twice the majority of the people have said no. Now, having said all of that, we anticipate that probably sometime in the next year or so, the college might be coming before the city for some kind of development approvals, and I think that it's not inappropriate for us at that time to have them take a look at the long-term parking plan for the college to see what they can do. Particularly, I know, and they've made a presentation to the city council here, they're hoping to grow enrollment over the next few years, so the issue of adequate parking would certainly be a reasonable discussion item for us to have with Lake Forest College.
Yeah, well, they have the parking. These kids don't want to pay the price. That's where the problem is. It isn't that they can't find parking over there. But the other thing is, you talk about the parking, putting a sign up. My neighborhood, every day, you never know what's going to happen in our neighborhood, and I'm only 3 blocks south of there. I don't see anything. Nobody ever asked me if they can put a sign up, or asked if I wanted a sign up.
My understanding, though, is that you're not asking for no parking in front of your property.
No.
You're asking for no parking in front of another part of Washington.
You can't park in front of my place without getting a ticket. You park on Washington Road. My son lives 2 doors away from me. If people come over and they park on his street there, they get a ticket.
Okay, so it's already posted for no parking.
No, it's not posted.
Well, they can't get a ticket if it's not posted.
I'm telling you, they're giving them tickets.
Okay, we'll have to talk to the police department.
No,
Because,
should I quit coming up? I mean, I want to know for sure. I'm an old man.
yeah.
Now, in deference, I have noticed during summer on Washington, this would be south of Deer Path, where there's an area marked for parking during church services. A lot of times on the weekends, more or less during beach services, there's cars parking along Washington, and they are sneaking in there. And
they get a ticket.
They don't get tickets a lot of times because
Once in a while.
there's a sensitivity that they're going to church when they're really cutting to the beach. You could see groups getting up.
Well,
It's similar
okay.
between college.
I'm too old. This is the last time. Good luck, guys. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
All right.
Any other, yes?
Hi, good evening, Mayor and members of the council. I did have a few questions for you regarding the statement, just because I'm trying to understand the process regarding the investigation that's going forward.
Could you state your name and address?
Sure.
for-
Amy Messner, 1308 Edgewood Road in Lake Forest. The first question I had, you had said that there's a BFPC, is that correct?
There's
That's
a
Board of Police and Fire Commission.
Okay, and there's 3 members?
That's correct.
And who are those members?
Well, I don't have them right in front of me right now.
I know
Is
the
it the
chairman
police?
is Philip Foss.
Kristen Bishop as well.
Kristen Bishop and then Luke Connect.
And are they police and fire commissioners, or?
They are all residents, just citizens of Lake Forest. There can be under statute only not more than one of either not more than 2 of either a Democratic or Republican party member. You may not think that's relevant, but it is under the statute.
Okay. And then I was just curious as to their findings and why it was given to an independent investigator.
They've made no findings at all at this point, and the reason for that is that their role in the process is to be actually conducting the hearing. And not having them do the investigation allows them to remain objective and allows them to provide due process if a hearing were to be conducted.
Okay, so then the independent investigator will present their findings, or she'll present her findings to this committee?
Initially to the city council, and from there, determination of what, if any, charges would be made.
Okay. And then the final question is, how was the investigator selected? Were there various groups or firms that were brought forward for consideration?
The city considered, I believe, 18 different attorneys, all of whom had I believe all or nearly all of whom had investigatory experience, including prosecutorial experience. It was reviewed on a number of different levels, and ultimately the selection was made.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments by public this evening? If not, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Oh, we have one more?
Hi, my name's Eric Herman. I live at 636 Grandview Lane. Want to talk to you about the Steinert Griffith issue at the middle school. I guess it bleeds over into high school as well. We currently have members of the Board of Education that has lost the trust of a significant portion of both the residents and the parents within the school system. Those board members have been rather straight in saying that they have no intention of resigning over their mishandling of the Steinert investigation by Harry Griffith. And I want to come to the commission and say that since there is no provision within Illinois law that allows for the recall, that can only be done through an ordinance passed by this commission that would then need to be voted on by the citizens of Lake Forest. So I would request that this this commission pass such an ordinance that would allow for the recall of the Board of Education.
Mr. Mayor, if you'd like, I'd...
Sure, if you would.
Sir, you're correct that there is no recall provision under Illinois law. However, the City Council has no authority over the school board. The school board is independently elected. It's governed by a different statute than the one in which the city is operating under, and the city does not have any ability to adopt any kind of ordinance that would provide for the recall or removal of any of the school board members. Currently, the only way that could happen would be if the General Assembly were to change the law, or again at the ballot box at the time of the next election of each of those members.
Does Buffalo Grove operate under different laws than Lake Forest? Because Buffalo Grove was successful in passing an ordinance, and they were successful in recalling the, I believe it was the city clerk.
That was one of the village board members, and that was somebody who was on the board itself that it operates. The school district is a separate governmental entity from the city, and under that separation, we don't have any authority under that.
So they're autonomous?
Situation. I'm sorry?
They're autonomous. They
right.
report to no one.
They report to the citizens just as the city council does. They are independently elected.
And I think that's, again, we've gotten a lot of people probably confused on that matter. The city council does not control the school board. They're elected by the public through a general election. We do not control that. And Vic, I don't know if there's any other way to make that clear or to express that. I know we've all gotten comments by residents certainly concerned about the matter, but our jurisdiction, our ability to regulate, our ability to oversight does not exist here with this body.
Correct. The oversight over both this city council as well as the school board are the voters of Lake Forest. The city council has no authority over the school board and vice versa.
Okay.
Vic, what, as a citizen, a concerned citizen, as we've seen here, what steps can a concerned citizen take if we can't to meet that end, if that's their wish?
I think just as citizens are allowed to come before the city council, citizens are allowed to go before the school board. They are required to take public comment, and I think that if citizens have concerns, the best way to express those concerns to the school board would be to go to their meetings or otherwise contact them in writing and otherwise and make their positions clear. Ultimately, if the school board doesn't respond in the way those citizens want, the ballot box is the ultimate determiner.
My understanding is Illinois is one of a few states that doesn't have any recall or initiative provisions.
Illinois has initiative. It does not have recall or removal opportunities as a general matter.
So the governor, the former governor, had to be impeached to be removed.
And there is no impeachment at the local level. There is impeachment at the state level. Essentially, for most local governments in Illinois, other than at the ballot box, the only bases on which they would be removed from office is either if they remove themselves from the district that they're representing, or if they are convicted of a felony.
I'm just getting at the fact this is a bigger issue, and it's statewide.
Exactly. It is a statewide issue. And
so talk to your state representative and your state senator.
Okay. Any other comments? We'll move on to the consent agenda. We have 2 items on the consent agenda this evening. I'll read them both and then ask for your motion for your approval. First one being approval of the authorized invoices and payrolls for the period October 29 to November 25th. The second being an approval of the minutes from the November 21, 2011 regular city council meeting. Any questions, comments, or recommendations?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
A roll call vote, please.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
Alderman Waldeck.
Aye.
Alderman Moore.
Aye.
Alderman Schoenhyder.
Aye.
Alderman Palmer.
Aye.
Alderman Edelman.
Aye.
6 yeas, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you, Bertie. Our next item on the agenda is ordinances. Our first being a consideration of an ordinance amending the real estate transfer tax exemptions presented by City Attorney Victor Filippini. Vic?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The city, following its home rule referendum, had a second referendum to create a real estate transfer tax that was approved, and the council thereafter adopted an ordinance establishing that transfer tax. The city's ordinance includes a number of exemptions which parrot those that are found in the state statute and that govern the county transfer tax. One of the things that we have found is that with increasing frequency in light of the increase in foreclosures, the lenders have not been taking properties directly. They've been establishing separate LLCs to take title. Largely that's because of the unknown risks from environmental liability and the like, and the lenders don't want to accept that liability. As a technical matter, the exemptions under the statute don't recognize that assignment of title of a foreclosing lender to a wholly owned subsidiary LLC. The practice has been at the county level and in most municipalities, as we've determined, that the distinction between the LLC and the lender has not been made. As a technical matter, it should be. Rather than simply waive off that issue, we've suggested this very modest revision to our real estate transfer tax, so there's no question about this, and that will allow staff to excuse me, not to guess as to what the council's intent is, but to have a clear understanding of the council's approach on the real estate transfer tax exemption. We would recommend that you waive first reading and grant final approval, as this is really, I believe, more of a technical amendment to our code rather than any material change.
And Vic, yeah, being kind of a geek, these things interest me to a large degree. And I appreciate the technical aspect, and I appreciate that most municipalities, I think all municipalities in Illinois, are reluctant to enter into any type of tax of mortgage companies relating to foreclosure actions. But when you really sit back, the mortgage company is gaining a financial benefit here. They're avoiding any type of liability for environmental purposes or other. Would there be any sense to have a nominal fee to register? Maybe Lake Forest could be in the forefront of this, but again, they're gaining an advantage. They're gaining an economic benefit. Why should they just be exempt?
Alderman Overy, your point is well taken, and in fact, in the face of all sorts of everybody else does it, our office, as well as the city staff, have conferred and determined that, in fact, the ordinance is what it is, and they're not exempt. The first time this came up was earlier this year, and as a result, we required the lender and their LLC to go through quite a number of hoops. After going through it and reviewing more closely what the other practices have been, we determined two things. One, the city already does have a nominal fee that applies for any exempt transaction to cover our administrative costs. So in that respect, we're already ahead of the curve. And to be technical, you may recall this, what we ended up doing was removing the exemption from a full exemption to an exemption except for the first $50 or something, if I remember how we ended up doing that, so that there is a small fee that is imposed to defray the expenses that are involved, even for the exemptions. I think that the overall rationale of following the trend, which is also the approach that the county takes, and as you know, with the state required declaration filed with the county has the same exemptions, and they've done the same thing as is proposed in this ordinance. We didn't want to do anything that was going to be an impediment to encouraging the moving along of properties, particularly when they stagnate in a foreclosure situation. So although I agree with you that there's a revenue component, and there is a benefit in the potential avoidance of some kind of environmental liability, one of the things that in making this recommendation to the council that we have considered is that the county first may not always abide by what our ordinance is if somebody comes in with an exemption petition, or I should say declaration. And two, what we are getting out of this is really nothing more than what the county would get out of this. I mean, it's the tax, the benefit there is that ultimately you're going to get somebody who's going to put it on the tax roll, make effective use of the property as opposed to just have it either in a foreclosed state or have it in a holding state with the mortgagee.
Understood.
No, trust me, we had the same process when the issue first came up in our office, but in reviewing more the practicalities of it, we thought that the better part of valor here was to follow the trend.
Yeah, 'cause there's movement to servicing, and there's all different LLCs that are part of the same. Thanks.
And if I can add, the fundamental premise to a real estate transfer tax is there consideration passing between the grantor and the grantee? If there's no consideration, it's traditionally been exempt. Two spouses transfer into a land trust, of which are both the beneficiaries. I mean, you could go on with it, one example after another. In this instance, there's no consideration passing. It's pretty simple. I would think a plain old P-tax form that shows no consideration qualifies them for exemption.
That's actually an important point. All of these could have been done in a two-step process. There's an exemption for a foreclosed or deed in lieu of transfer, so that's one, and then for a non-consideration transfer, that's two. Both of those are exempt. The reason that the lenders have been just trying to get it with an assignment to the second one is because they don't want to be in that chain of title. And so by skipping one of the steps, they avoid the chain of title issue that may have some potential environmental and other liabilities. So really what we're allowing them to do directly that they could have done indirectly is what's affected here. This could all be done under our current ordinance without any transfer tax if they do it in two steps, but it does potentially expose the lenders to liability. So again, that was one of the considerations, and thank you, Alderman Edelman, for reminding me of that point, because again, we did go through these processes and looking at what would be the appropriate recommendation to the council, and ultimately, from a practical perspective, we thought that following that trend is really the right thing to do.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Vic? If not, I'd entertain a motion to waive the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I need to grant it, I need a roll call.
I'm sorry,
Yep. Any oppose on that? No? So, motion for final approval?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
Alderman Waldeck.
Aye.
Alderman Moore.
Aye.
Alderman Schoenhyder.
Aye.
Alderman Palmer.
Aye.
Alderman Edelman.
Aye.
6 yeas, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you, Bertie. Our next item is new business. There's a consideration of recommendation to support Phase 2 professional services by Quandel Consultants LLC, evaluating the feasibility of a potential Amtrak stop at the Telegraph Road train station, presented by Karina Walters. And Karina, we did cover this pretty thoroughly at the committee of the whole meeting earlier, so I don't suspect you have to get up unless there's any other questions going forward. Any other questions? If not, we would look for a recommended action to authorize the execution of Phase 2 of the professional services contract with Condell Consultants, and I think we're not to exceed $40,000.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
Alderman Waldeck.
Aye.
Alderman Moore.
Aye.
Alderman Schoenhyder.
Aye.
Alderman Palmer.
Aye.
Alderman Edelman.
Aye.
6 yeas, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you, Bertie. And our second item under new business is follows the same. It's an award of a professional services contract to Condell Consultants LLC for assisting with the Phase 1 preliminary engineering on the Telegraph Road Station pedestrian underpass project. I'm not sure. Any other questions? If not,
Ramesh looks like he just wants to
he wants to talk. I know that. He's
Sit down.
There you go.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Novak.
Aye.
Alderman Waldeck.
Aye.
Alderman Moore.
Aye.
Alderman Schoenhyder.
Aye.
Alderman Palmer.
Aye.
Alderman Edelman.
Aye.
6 yeas, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you, Bertie. I guess this is up to you, Bob. Is this time permitting for an iPad discussion?
Well, it's really how the council is feeling at 9:10 this evening, because as you know, we've been talking for the last couple of months about trying to migrate the city council to electronic form of communication. I know a number, I think last time I surveyed, there was at least 4, if not 5 members of city council currently have their own personal iPad. And it was our hope to try and get each of you iPads, if you don't already have them, with instructions on how to use them and so forth, so that you can play around with them, get comfortable with them. If you're not familiar with them right now, with the intent that effective January 1 of 2012, all you will get is electronic copies. You will not get hard copies unless there's something unique and unusual in the packet that you want to have a copy. Because part of the iPad program that we would get you, not only would you have the Wi-Fi and the 4G, so you could get your emails wherever you were when you were traveling and so forth, but also there is software or applications that you can download so that you can actually make notations on the PDF forms, just like as if you had a hard copy in front of you, so that you could then bring that with the council meeting and use that. Now, the only caveat to all of this is always a gentle reminder from the city attorney about how just because you have these iPads, all that business, emails and so forth still remain subject to the Open Meetings Act and Freedom of Information laws. And there was an excellent article in the Tribune today, and we made copies, and I think you have those in front of you this evening, about really the cautions of making sure that you're not talking to each other during a council meeting on your iPads or electronically and making comments that you otherwise wouldn't make in a public meeting. So really, it's up to you. We would like to try and move in this direction. I know many of you are already doing this, and it's just to get the rest of the council up to speed so that effective January 1, we're all working on the same page.
So if we already have an iPad, we would get software?
If you already have an iPad.
Is it an email or what is it?
What we would probably do is have you contact a representative of our IT department so that they could walk you through what apps you have to download, so you have those then on your iPad. And that we would also then if you don't already have some Wi-Fi or interconnect, you would be able to do that so that you could pick up your emails going forward. The other thing that we have been talking to the attorney, and I think I mentioned this in passing too, is that we want to make sure that all of you have your City of Lake Forest email accounts in place. We can help you then have those forwarded to your other emails, but that's a way that we can then track any city business per se versus your personal business that's taking place, because any city business would therefore then be subject to the Freedom of Information Act here in the state of Illinois. So we just want to make sure that everybody is operating in accordance with Illinois law, but then more importantly that this is convenient for you, because we recognize all of your lives are very busy. Many of you are traveling as part of your professional life, and we just want to try and be able to send you, download this information so that you have access to it in a very timely fashion. And be green, so that we're not throwing out a lot of paper after a council meeting and so forth. So we'll send out, Bertie and I will be contacting each of you individually. If you're not familiar with it, you'd like a little TLC and getting comfortable with it, we can bring you in, meet with members of the IT staff and help work through that. But I think many of you are probably proficient enough that you can pick it up pretty quickly, and or if not, your kids can help you pick it up pretty quickly. But we wanted to give this to you over the holiday season so you did have a chance to get comfortable with it before we then formally sent you the next agenda package. Since we don't have another meeting in December, your January packet would just be sent to you electronically.
A couple more questions. Can we, if we personally have one, then we would just use part of it for city business. If the city got us one, then would we use it for personal business and load other apps on it, or?
We would encourage you, if it is a city-issued iPad, we have restrictions on all city employees in terms of how they use, whether it's an iPad or a computer or anything else. And so if we issue you one, you will actually get the same disclosure and sign-off that all city employees sign off when they are issued a computer or other electronic equipment. Basically, it just tells you not to go to inappropriate sites, not to do it for inappropriate reasons, and those kinds of things.
David, you can't use it for Angry Birds.
Yeah, right. Angry Birds probably won't get you in trouble, but there are other apps and sites that will.
Use Site on my iPad.
That's right.
Careful of those pictures.
Yeah, that's right.
Bob, could I ask one favor? Maybe for at least a while, we have Bertie also email us, as she's been doing, the agendas. If there are certain parts of the agenda that we'd like to print out, then we could do that.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that'd be helpful, at least till we all kind of get started in the process.
Right, and if there's a lengthy document or something that has big plans and it's not real easy to look at on the iPad, we'd be happy to, just as a courtesy, to include that in the packet so that you have those available to you.
That'd be great.
Just because you get your email on an iPad doesn't mean it's not going to come into your desktop at the same time. I mean, mine come into all my computers.
Yeah, it depends on your email.
Yeah, yeah, because you can forward that on to your other accounts.
I kind of like to noodle on the paper, to tell you the truth. But if there's an easy way to do that in a PDF document, that would be intriguing.
Yeah, there's actually two apps that Bertie has been testing out, iAnnotate and forget the other one, that has been, it looks to be pretty easy to use. So we'll make sure that you get that so you can play with that and get comfortable with it as well. Okay, well, we'll make arrangements to just not stay here all night, and we'll work with you one-on-one to get up to speed on that and go forward.
Any other items for discussion this evening? If not, I'd entertain a motion for adjournment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
I don't need those things.